From NBC News, DOGE will use AI to assess the responses of federal workers who were told to justify their jobs via email. Trump then said anyone who doesn't will be fired. Now, we know that Tulsi, the DOD, Cash have told their departments or their branches respectively, do not respond to this. Cash, I think, said we'll put a pause on this. Tulsi said don't respond. We'll handle our stuff internally. But this is fascinating in that one of the biggest scandals in American history, with the news losing their minds, is that a special employee to the government, to the president, just said, so what do you do here? Democrats are freaking out. They don't want the emails to be answered. They're calling it power struggles. In what reality would we allow people at any company to ignore emails and not explain the job they are doing?
And then cry about having to even get these emails. They're acting so traumatized. So I flew here yesterday. I was on, when you get into Dulles, you got to go on that little train to go over to the main terminal and do customs. There was this lesbian in front of me, and she was telling her partner, oh, I got that. She was HHS. She was telling the partner that she got the email, and she didn't respond. She almost did until she realized where it was coming from, like when it hit her that it was Elon Musk's. And, oh, I'm not responding. She's bragging to her lesbian lover next to her about how she's not responding. Why is that woman working for the government? I shut up because I'm on a train before customs. I don't want to get in trouble before I cross the border. But why is this psychopath woman allowed to say these things? Oh, I'm not responding because I saw who it come from, because it came from Elon.
Imagine
you work for us. We pay your salary.
But
get out.
Just imagine somebody working for Burger King.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're standing there and the boss walks up and goes, hey, we're pretty swamped. Can you take the garbage out? And they turn around, I ain't taking the garbage out. It's like, okay, well, you're not going to work here.
Exactly.
You're fired.
Just quit. Leave. Get out. Get lost.
But these people want to work for the government because the government is a free paycheck.
Yes.
And they haven't had to do any work for a long time.
But she's a subversive. I mean, it's just one. I don't know what she does. She could be a janitor. I don't know what she was. She was just some nutcase that was in front of me on this little
She's going to be like senior counsel to the defense of Joe Biden.
Well, she's a subversive parasite. These are subversive parasites. And that's why things don't get done. That's why when Elon was talking the other day about Trump puts the executive order and they don't get enforced, they don't even get done at all. Mm-hmm. This is why. Because this parasite thing that was in front of me is running the show over there. It's a disgrace. They should be thrown out. They should be thrown out. And frankly, if they're subverting the president's orders or the orders of the secretary and you're working for the government, you should be charged.
Yeah.
Well,
Frankly,
I don't know about what charges exist for that.
Well, there should be something.
What? Not, I disagree.
Subverting the will of the God, like subverting.
Being lazy at work doesn't put you in jail.
It's
You
not,
get fired.
but I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know if it's laziness.
It's not about being. I think what he's referring to is malicious compliance.
Yeah.
Doing things that they say to do, but
yes, and just not doing it.
I disagree.
Process.
Completely disagree. You get fired. That's it. If somebody gets hired by a company and then you're like, take the garbage out, so they dump the garbage in the ground, you don't get arrested. You say, okay, you're
no,
fired.
but you're working for the government.
Yes, I don't care. Government doesn't get
policy.
special action to imprison people who are stupid. I get what you're saying, but the point is, if somebody works for the government and the boss says you need to handle this report for this institution, and they go okay, and they do it wrong, the boss is going to be like, you subverted my will, so we're charging you. That's ridiculous. You do a bad job, you get fired. That's all it is. Somebody works for the government and they're like, I'm not going to do my job. It's like, well, there's the door. Yeah. That's it. Goodbye. Get out. What we're dealing with right now is you've got hundreds of thousands, millions of federal employees, and you've got people who actively don't work, and they think they should get free money from us. They should be fired. Yep. That's it. It's real simple. Now, I do think the email is clever in that it says if you don't respond, it'll be presumed as a resignation because, well, now they've just quit.
True.
So you don't need to go through any of the weird. You go through some of it. They're going to try and make claims, but I got to be honest. If they send out an email and say, please respond to this email, and you do not, now it's insubordination. Mm-hmm. Now it's dereliction of duty. So if they send out one email every day, the deadline is tonight. If they send out one email Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday saying, we've not heard from you, please respond, we're awaiting your response. After the second or third email, they have a clean termination.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to sue and be like, oh, why did I get fired? They're going to be like, well, anybody who wasn't answering their work emails to the project they were on got let go. I mean, that's just dereliction of duty.
Right.
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that should be particularly controversial. I imagine that if that did happen, that would be another situation where they would try to bring it before courts. They would try and challenge it in courts. And I say bring it on because these kind of challenges in courts will result in the court deciding the president has the
authority,
Article 2 power. The bureaucracy does not. If you don't do your job, we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
What I want to know with these people is how hard is it to go into ChatGPT or Grok or somewhere and just ask them, what should a person in my position be doing on any given day?
It's not like he's like, send evidence.
They're not asking for evidence. They're not asking for anything. They're too stupid or too ridiculous or whatever the word is. I don't know what the word is. They can't even figure out how to do that. They have to go cry on CNN, and any one of them that went to the media and cried about it, they should be fired on the spot. The minute before they even end the hit on the TV, they get a text, you don't come back in ever again.
I mean, look, there's not a way that anyone will get fired that I will disagree with. Like, if you can come up with a reason to fire someone in the government, fire them.
Yeah.
I was watching clips today from CNN. Kevin Leary, Leary or O'Leary?
O'Leary,
the
Shark Tank,
Shark Tank guy. He was on CNN and he was he was talking about cutting. He's like, you cut and cut. He's like, you might cut into some meat, but now that you have the opportunity, you cut and you cut and you cut and you cut. That's what you do in business, blah, blah, blah. And they were mortified, absolutely mortified. But that's really what you should do. If you make massive, massive cuts and you overdo it, you can replace those people. You can find someone. You can offer them the job back. You can find other people that are qualified to do the job. There will be people that want to do the job. Make the cuts while you have the opportunity.
Trump might actually build back better. Like, you should probably use that slogan next. Yeah.
Steal it from Europe. Biden stole that slogan from Europe. It's
Everybody
wild.
did. Yeah, everybody used it. They used it in
lifelong
in
plagiarism.
Haiti. The Clintons used it in Haiti like years ago.
But I mean, it's funny because didn't Biden plagiarize that Irish guy in the 80s?
All he ever did is plagiarize.
Right.
The man has never had an original thought
Career
in his
plagiarist,
life.
yeah.
Like, he never has had an original thought.
No,
Well, he doesn't really matter much now, does he?
No,
not
not at all.
He's got he's with the CAA. Signed
He's on a talent agency for what, and Kamala signed to it too. The talent
that's
agency.
amazing.
It's interesting how they all go straight there.
Yeah.
But no, Biden's going to have no post presidency. He's just going to sit in that house in Delaware and rot
what
away.
can he do?
He was dead before he even left. I mean, the brain is gone.
Yes.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, some people like the time for your, time for you to be in the public eye. When that time ends, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
For Biden, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
It was actually
Biden Library will
Way
be a
before that.
mausoleum. Yeah.
The
Biden Library.
Yeah.
What are you going to have?
So
mausoleum
while we're still in the segment, I'll address two comments because we normally save super chats. But we had one comment from someone who said that I was either intentionally or egotistically ignoring the point that people who intentionally do wrong in the federal government should be charged. I believe if you have a job and you intentionally don't do your job, the penalty should be termination. I don't care if you're working for the government or the private sector. If you get hired to do a job and you're like, I'm going to do the opposite, it's like, okay, you're fired. If you steal money to go on vacation, that's a crime. But if someone's like, mop the floor, and then you kick over a 2 liter of Coke, it's like, get out. You don't go to jail for that. If someone says something like, hey, file this paperwork by the end of the week, and then you're like, no, and then you don't do it, you don't go to jail for that. If someone shredded a bunch of classified documents destroying important government paperwork, that's destruction of property. Like those crimes, they already exist. Not doing your job properly is not a crime. Destroying government property, those things are already crimes. And then Kako said, you wanted to charge pilots for flying illegals, but not government workers who defy orders. Those are so radically different. A pilot who knows they are smuggling, and it is literally smuggling. An illegal immigrant comes on their plane holding a document saying they're not a citizen and they have no right to travel this country, no ID to prove who they are. And the pilot goes, fine by me, you're smuggling. Let's put it this way. You own a plane, small little 5-seater. And some guy walks up and says, I'm not a citizen. I have no right to fly in this country and I'm here illegally. And you're like, well, I guess hop on board. I'm getting paid for this. That's called being a human smuggler.
Yeah.
You work for a commercial airline and then go, my boss told me I have to fly these people. They're not here legally. They have documents proving they're not here legally. They didn't show their IDs, but it's fine. I'm like, yeah, you're just a higher end human smuggler. It's almost like, come on. I'll, you know what? I was going to get a little unfair. I'm not going to do it. I was going to make a crude joke about some. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But let's just say, if you are knowingly transporting illegal immigrants for cash in any capacity, you're a smuggler. You go to jail for that.
Kamala.
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're talking about pilots on planes.
Yeah.
And these stories were that there were planes full of illegal immigrants holding documents saying, I'm undocumented citizen, I'm sorry, undocumented immigrant. The left called them
Saw it
undocumented
in Phoenix.
citizens.
Go to the Phoenix airport. You would
And the
see
pilots,
lines.
and these are pilots being like, whatever. So what about working for a large corporate airline shields you from being a smuggler? Nothing.
No.
Would you say the Border Patrol? Because I was at when I was in Yuma, those Border Patrol are loading them up on the vans, giving them rides to the airport.
Put them in jail.
Right. That's
and every one.
that's part of the smuggling.
Yes.
They were, and they go, but Biden told me to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, the smugglers over there, they have a boss too. Should we not arrest them?
Yeah.
Well, but their boss is a bad guy. How do you know? Their boss might be the mayor of a city.
Boss might be way better than Biden because what was going on was unbelievable. No, that border stuff, it was straight up human trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
Like 4 years of legal human trafficking.
And child human trafficking.
Absolutely.
Like hundreds
Sexual
of thousands
exploitation,
of
the
kids.
stuff that went on. How many kids are missing?
I mean, they said 300,000.
300,000. If they said
who knows?
300,000, who knows how many it really is? That's probably double at the very least.
Yeah, because there's some of those bridges on the border down there that are just covered in pictures of missing kids.
It's a disgrace. It's so sad. It's so sad.
It's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kako is making the argument that a government worker who defies orders should be imprisoned. Yeah, that's actual fascism. I don't want to live in that country. I don't live in a country where you have a guy saying, like, let's say the task is rather mundane, because what we're talking about, the federal workers being fired, is a lot of these jobs are rather mundane, filing paperwork and reconciling expense reports. So a guy comes in and says, we got an expense report for, $17,000 for a trip that was done by a few delegates. I want you to reconcile it. And he goes, I'm not going to do it. They should arrest that person? That's insane to me. Yeah. You say, okay, get out. We'll get someone who will. You don't go to jail for that. Yeah. And there's a dramatic difference between that and someone being like, now imagine if the boss came in and says, we've got this expense report for a trip a few delegates took totaling $17,000, but I stole 13 of it. So I want you to write in there that 13 of it went to travel and expenses so that I don't go to jail. If that person goes, you got it, boss, then they should all go to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
That's flying a plane for a major corporation knowing you're smuggling illegal immigrants and being like, my boss told me to do it. You see the difference? Now, I'll tell you this. What if defying orders? What if the orders are illegal? Oh, well, now that's different. Okay, what if the person thinks the orders are illegal? You see, this is the problem. If someone doesn't want to do a job, you fire them. If somebody worked for an airline and a bunch of people came in who are clearly not illegal immigrants, they had those documents. They had folders that said, like, help, I'm an illegal immigrant. They didn't have IDs, and they were being let on these planes. If I was a pilot in that situation, I'd get up and be like, no. And they'd be like, you can't do that. We'll fire you. I'd be like, I'm not committing a crime. Are you nuts? Don't worry. This one's legal. Yeah, says you. Why would I expose myself to legal criminal liability in this regard? Should that person be fired or penalized for that? No, they should be given a medal.
Right.
So, yeah. There you go.
I don't have a problem with people going to jail or being investigated and prosecuted for
refusing to file an expense report.
No, for intentionally going out of their way to frustrate the orders of the president or of the organization they're working for.
But what does that mean? Because how would you codify that?
So if you're like I said, that the idea is malicious compliance. If you're doing something that you're told to do and you're doing it in a way that is actually going to produce results counter to whatever it is that you're trying to do.
You think people should go to jail for that?
Should get prosecuted. You should maybe not go to jail, but maybe you get fined. But there should be legal repercussions. Maybe they don't go to jail. Maybe they get put on maybe they get probation. Maybe it's not a felony. But there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, when it comes to the federal government, yeah, because you're trying to frustrate the will of the elected representative.
The difficulty there is in any way to prove intent with malicious compliance. Certainly, in some instances, you can, but that seems absolutely wild because a lot of these circumstances are going to be things like filing expense reports.
Fair enough, and so if you don't have
if you don't
have the evidence, fine.
Yeah, but I still think that's just absolutely insane. I mean, if we're talking about like we need these classified documents to be delivered to the office of the president now because there's a national security crisis, and they intentionally, and they're told to go to room 101A, and they go to room 101A in the West Wing and go, oopsie daisies, and you're like, you intentionally withheld classified information to national security. That's absolutely different.
So you can't, but you can't prove that
We're
they
not
didn't
talking
make a
about that.
mistake.
We're talking about federal workers, which include like people who are like, the reason I say expense reports is a lot of these are bureaucrats who deal with like Form 1A being emailed to johnsmith.at whitehouse.gov.
Yeah,
and we're talking about putting people in prison for being like, I sent it to the email you told me to, but it was the wrong one.
I'm not saying that it necessarily requires prison.
Or I'm saying in any way prosecuting a person for malicious compliance to me is just absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. There are stories where it's like, there's a subreddit dedicated to this, r/malicious compliance. And so let's talk about what this would look like. In most of these stories, it is boss was stupid and wrong and told me to do thing, so I did it and it screwed things up. So a mid-level manager in a federal agency says, recently hired. There's a guy who handles tax paperwork and expense reports, and he's been there for 10 years. The new manager guy says, policy and procedure is that you do it this way. And they go, I'm not supposed to do it that way. I'm supposed to do it this way. And say, well, you're doing what I'm telling you to do. And they go, okay, if that's what you want, knowing that the instructions were wrong, they then send the files to the wrong email address, jamming up the functions of government, knowing it would happen. The idea that we would then be like, you should be criminally charged for doing that is insane to me. This is typically what these stories are.
Well, again, I'm not saying that it's every single instance that someone could possibly behave in that way should be prosecuted. But I think that having it as an option, I don't think there's any.
So where do you think about this? This whistleblower I've been talking to with the FBI, she was a quality assurance auditor for the name check program. And years ago, she saw that there was all these discrepancies with names in the database, and they kept being certain names were kept in limbo during background checks. She went to her leadership. They said, literally fly under the radar, don't talk about it. She kept going back saying this is a problem. She believes that some of these things would lead to like a Thomas Crook situation where how there's so much incompetence with the security. Would the leaders, in your opinion, both you guys, all three of you, think that those people should be arrested or just fired for allowing discrepancies in a name check program? Right? Because what they're doing could lead to disasters.
So you're talking about people being lazy in the government?
Is it lazy or
is it criminal negligence?
Lazy incompetence, or is it,
and again,
on purpose?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.